Countries and businesses around the world will be watching to see just how quickly President-elect Donald Trump imposes new tariffs after he takes office on Monday and how steep those tariffs may be. PBS NewsHour special correspondent and Washington Post columnist Catherine Rampell reports on how some companies are already preparing.
So this is one of our newer products that's made with our new Supro Comfort technology.
When Donald Trump won in November, Rick Muscat's first call was to China.
Called our major supplier, found out how many more pair they could make for us before they closed for Chinese New Year. We bought 30,000 pair that day.
Trump has threatened 60% tariffs or taxes on Chinese-made goods, which might include all the shoes Muscat's company, Deer Stags, sells.
We import and distribute around the United States both men's and boys' shoes. We call it affordable comfort fashion.
He says shifting production here is not an option, given labor costs.
Shoes have over 200 operations, and there's a lot of labor in the making of shoes.
Plus,
there's no factories here to move production back, so we don't have the option.
Stocking up early was risky. His shipment might not arrive before new tariffs start.
You're tying up your capital, you're paying storage, and you're making decisions on what you think the consumer is going to buy well in advance of when the consumer decides what they want to buy. And sometimes you're wrong.
We see about a 20% increase in bookings relative to expected.
Ryan Peterson is CEO of Flexport, a trade and logistics company.
There's a lot of uncertainty about where the tariffs will be, where they'll land. But one thing you know is they're probably coming. And so the easiest thing to do is, if you can, move the goods in early and get them here before the tariffs hit.
Firms also look for creative ways to duck future tariffs.
Customs brokers have all sorts of strategies to help you with tariff engineering. You could change the components of your product, that if the components are 51% polyester versus 49% polyester, that's a different duty code.
After Trump's earlier trade wars and COVID, many companies began moving their supply chains, but mostly not to the U.S.
The biggest winner for sure was Vietnam, Mexico, probably right up there, and has continued to move for many years because of the cost of labor. So you see a lot moving into Thailand, Malaysia, Cambodia, India, throughout Latin America.
But these moves carry geopolitical risk.
Jordan, which is a peaceful place, but is surrounded by all kinds of conflict. And so a number of our customers who set up manufacturing in Jordan in order to take advantage of free trade agreements quickly found out, oh, wow, it's like not that easy.
Their new location could get hit by tariffs too.
So we've been working to onboard this factory in Mexico for about 2 years.
Jenny Goodman co-founded Tillet, a hospitality workwear company, with her partner Alex McCreary. They thought they were smart to diversify production away from China and Colombia.
So Mexico was sort of a buffer for that, should there be any issues in Asia moving forward.
Then in November, Trump threatened huge tariffs on Mexico too. So it feels a little bit like whack-a-mole.
Yeah, a little bit like a whack-a-mole.
Tillet does produce 10% of its products, the more expensive seasonal fashion collection, here in New York. Are you trying to find alternatives here domestically?
Not at the current moment. We feel that we're pretty much at max capacity with what we can produce domestically based on price sensitivity of our customer and skilled labor. It's like every time that we lose a seamstress, it takes a while to find and replace somebody because there isn't a huge pool of skilled labor anymore here.
Tariff threats have stressed their business.
We have some really big orders that we've been working on for about 15 months now, and we've quoted those orders sourcing out of our factory in China. So if there's a 10% increase and our margin is slim because it's a huge order, that could really impact whether we have to A, raise prices, or B, take an even worse margin hit.
Their Mexican factory partner has agreed to absorb some of the tariff risk. But some costs would have to get passed on to customers, and they might find that hard to swallow.
We're already in this period where we're trying to combat inflation, especially in our industry, because everything's gotten more expensive for restaurants. The butter's gotten more expensive, the uniforms have gotten more expensive, the labor's gotten more expensive. So the tolerance for large increases in prices would be really challenging for us.
Research on Trump's earlier tariffs found they were mostly paid by American businesses and their customers.
What we saw using tens of thousands of customs records is that the price that we paid the exporters didn't change. And so we believe that those tariffs were passed through 100% to U.S. importers.
Mary Lovely studies trade at the Peterson Institute for International Economics.
washing machines, we saw an almost immediate increase in price. Many of them are made in South Korea. The South Korean made washing machine was more than $1,000 higher. But then also the domestic made machine was also higher, as was the dryer, even though there were no tariffs on dryers.
Trump's plan for a 20% across-the-board tariff plus a 60% tariff on China suggests price increases for consumers could be large.
The burden on the average family would be a minimum of $2,700 a year. Estimates that include those increases in domestic prices as well go up to $4,000 and above for the average American household.
This will all ricochet back to U.S. companies.
Some people are going to be pushed out of the market. They just won't buy it all. Other people will buy fewer of whatever item it is. Either way, the company is going to be selling fewer items, have slower growth, and many of them will actually have fewer workers.
There will be some domestic winners.
Anything that makes it more expensive or difficult for somebody to import products that we make domestically helps us. Chaos in general helps domestic manufacturers. I hate to put it that way, but.
Mitch Kahn founded Unionwear, which produces hats and bags in Newark, New Jersey, 3 decades ago.
In 1992, there were well over 1,000 hat manufacturers and over 1,000 bag manufacturers when we started. But there are probably 4 or 5 hat factories left and maybe about 15 or 20 bag factories.
He's seen a lot in that time.
We used to rent this space and the production floor right over there to a biker gang.
Turns out New Jersey has geopolitical risks too.
The biker gang came to us and said, this neighborhood is not very safe, and we will put an end to all of that if you just give us this space for our club. And we do have one remnant from them being here, which is this stripper pole in the middle of our cafeteria.
So what happened to the gang?
They got in trouble with the local authorities and had to leave Newark.
Most American consumers don't care about that Jersey authenticity.
There's a lot of people who are very pro Made in USA that are not buying Made in USA goods. And they don't really think twice about it. Consumers are generally driven to buying the least expensive thing.
Unionwear's biggest clients are unions, the military, and organizations that care about co-branding with a Made in USA label, like political campaigns.
So this is one of the most popular hats that we ever made. We ended up making about 5,000 units a day of this baseball hat.
Kahn predicts a boom in USA-made products in the next few years, unrelated to tariffs.
That's just being driven by this very strange, almost perfect storm of events that are coming our way. One of them is the USA's 250th birthday. One of them is the US hosting the World Cup. One of them is the US hosting the Olympics, which definitely drive demand for us.
Kahn thinks tariffs will give Unionwear an added boost, even though his machinery comes from abroad.
We pulled forward a purchase of equipment from Canada to beat the clock on tariffs, and then we paused any additional purchases until the tariff situation works itself out.
Even with tariffs, ramping up production won't be easy.
We have difficulty recruiting workers, and we're in New Jersey, New York, with a large immigrant population, a lot of people with experience sewing. We find it harder and harder to hire people who want to work in a factory. That's part of the issue.
Kahn is investing in what may be the key to making U.S. manufacturing more competitive: robots.
We are automating our bag production. That will reduce our labor costs down to maybe 15% of the cost of the bag. And that's going to have a tremendous difference.
How much will the tariffs actually cost companies, consumers, workers? We'll soon find out. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Catherine Rampell in Newark, New Jersey.